clients, ourselves, everybody financially. But as I'm going to show you, it also, for us as planners, can really give some opportunities. As you know, most of the time you hear me talk about 10-year bond rates. Because in the life and annuity business, most of our carriers have a lot of their reserves, a lot of their assets are tied up or invested in 10-year government bonds, that style of investment. And as you can see here, I highlighted, this was from this morning. The Chicago board 10-year note was trading about a yield of about 1.72, which is about as low as we've seen. I think we've seen it down closer to 1.70. You think about that in the context of a 40-year average, the return on a 10-year is over 4% over the last 40 years. You could go back 60, whatever, 100. 1.72 is historically low. That's about as low as we've ever seen. So if you look at some of the benefits, some of the rates that either your investment products, your money market funds, your bank instruments, CDs, and if you look at your annuity rates, they're as low as you've ever seen them. We see a lot of twisting and turning, trying to adjust the terms, adjust the lengths, adjust some of the bells and whistles to try to make it look like we're able to get more than that on some CDs or money markets or whatever, but that's really just what it is. You know, you're down under 2%, in some cases down under 1%, depending on the vehicle. So then we move on, looking down a little bit lower here. You see this is this morning's S&P 500, right at 1,400 on the S&P 500. And again, we put that into a historical context. We see in 2000, in the year 2000, we were up at about 1,500, maybe a little bit higher. In 2007, we were over 1,500. In 2010, we were over 1,400. So if you look at the S&P today, or the equity markets in general, historically we're pretty well going sideways. We're zigzagging a lot doing it, but the S&P 500 and the stocks in general haven't really gone anywhere in the last dozen years. You know, they go up, they go down, but at the end of the day, they're going pretty well sideways. So what does that mean for us? If we're doing business in the life and annuity market, this actually, believe it or not, is creating a lot of advantages for us. And we look at some of the historical advantages of annuities. We all know, you know, they offer tax deferral. There's other tax and planning advantages. You think of the PPA, the Pension Protection Act, gave HIPAA-compliant annuities, tax-free withdrawals for care-related instances. We also, as far as estate planning and probate and those kinds of things, a lot of times we can use annuities as an advantage in planning those. We all know about that. We also recently, in the last decade or so, fixed crediting, especially fixed index crediting, like I say, with the zigzagging of markets that essentially are at the end of the day going sideways, we've still been able to get, for us and our clients, we've been able to get some pretty effective returns using the ratcheting effect, using the, if you cap out your S&P strategy in a particular month or year, whatever the case was, you might have gotten 5, 6, 7% credit on your indexed annuity, and on those big down years, you were getting zeros. So from a ratcheting standpoint, you were making good money, even though there was not an overall trend higher in, you know, whether it was the S&P or the Dow or some of the other broader indices that we might have been involved with. We still got some good money. That's been a historical advantage, at least over the last decade or so, of annuities. But here, I put this in red because this is one thing we haven't thought about quite as much when it came to annuities, is pooled risk. Now, by nature, these are insurance products. They're administered by insurance companies. who have access to mortality tables and actuaries who are capable of interpreting mortality and morbidity and all those kinds of risk. And by pooling the risk, carriers are now, they're able to offer some features that might be expensive if it wasn't a pooled risk. You know, how do you offer a 5% immediate premium bonus to somebody who's 85 years old? They might die a month later, and that cost is immediately absorbed by the insurance company. Well, they know that everybody who's 85 isn't necessarily going to die in a year or two, so they can pay that out of their pocket for the ones that do. I mean, there's a lot of examples on some of the features they can offer. You look at some of the income rider features they can offer. If everybody triggered life income and lived to be 100 years old, the carriers would go broke. Well, they know from their mortality tables that that's not going to be the case, so they can come up with these elaborate charts at what age you trigger lifetime income, how much lifetime income can they afford to give you, and these features, if priced on an individual basis, might be extremely expensive, but priced by an insurance carrier with experience in pooled risk, they can offer benefits. And now we're seeing more and more health care or nursing home or those kinds of benefits they're pricing into annuities. And again, if everybody was going to take advantage of them immediately, they'd be too expensive. But when priced on the aggregate, there's another benefit that carriers can offer. So all this is about is evolving very rapidly. We're seeing new products hit the market with creative designs almost daily, and a lot of it's driven by the very low rates that we just talked about and the unstable equity returns from stock investments and those kinds of things. So we're seeing carriers getting very creative, trying to take advantage of their size and their experience. And really, to be blunt, we see some very good products and useful products hitting the market, and I think a lot of them are kind of hollow bells and whistles. So we try to keep on top of that for you. So that's my last line here. Ask your SilverSide marketer for some of the current top performing annuities and some of the ones that we really think have extra bells and whistles that offer value and that aren't really just kind of hollow, that at the end of the day they're really not going to do that much for you and they're kind of a sales gimmick. We think there's a lot on one side and we think there's a lot on the other. So it's our job to keep on top of that for you. So ask your marketer about that. And then we'll switch the page here to the advantages of life insurance, especially in this market, low rates, unstable stock returns. Well, obviously there's the traditional purpose of life insurance here. You know, you protect your family, you protect your business for if you have an untimely death or for the transfer of your business if your death is relatively timely, whatever. Those are traditional purposes. We're all aware of some of those. We're also very well aware of tax-advantaged wealth transfer. Generally speaking, the death benefits from life insurance are tax-free or very tax-advantaged, so we're all familiar with that as a planning tool. And then there are some tax-advantaged strategies for saving and planning, for child's education or for other things that we might be able to, if we're clever, we might be able to use a life insurance product to develop a tax-advantaged strategy of building cash value. We're all aware of those, and then again in red here, what I'm pointing out today is some stuff that we haven't traditionally thought about as much when we're talking about life insurance, and that is tax-advantaged leveraging for health and illness. And there's a lot of good life insurance products out there that offer an acceleration of death benefit for an illness situation. And generally speaking, that's going to be tax-free. And again, like the annuities, we think there's a lot of life products out there that the bells and whistles along those lines are very effective and very client-friendly and have a lot of value to them. And then we think there's some others that are kind of hollow. So again, ask your SilverSide marketer for what we think. Oh, I didn't correct my slide here. This is currently top performing life products. So I got caught cutting and pasting there. Anyway, that's where we're at. One tool that SilverSide is using to try to keep on top of some of the new things coming and going in the market is super agent tools. We have partnered with superagenttools.com, and what they have is a very powerful, I'm calling it here, the most powerful agent support platform available on the market today. And you really have to see this. We have a demo video we can send you. I actually hosted a webinar with one of the designers of Super Agent Tools who went into details on how it works. There's a product comparison search engine that's going to keep you on a daily basis updated on what some of the best products are, what some of the best, if you want a 10-year annuity with a 5% bonus, or if you want a 5-year annuity with a high guaranteed rate, or whatever the case may be. This platform is going to help you stay on top of all the comings and goings of those kind of products. Training videos are available, training updates, strategies. There's updates on how tax implications will affect our business, and it's really something you need to see. So give us a buzz here. We can send you either our webinar, a video link to our webinar, or we have a training video that's going to go into details on that. So with that, I've been rambling on for a bit here. I will wrap it up. Thank you for watching my update. And now I will see if Grayson is available. He is going to get into some details on how some of the best life and annuity strategies to plan for illness and care affect us today.
Okay, hey guys, hey, thanks for coming by today. Like Rick said, I'm gonna try to go through. I'm gonna go through a lot of information really quickly. So more important than anything, just gonna try to get some basic concepts across to you today. Write our number down: 480-998-1286. Log on to our website, SilverSideInsurance.com. We'll get you all the information that you're looking for. I really want to focus today on some of the linked benefits because, as Rick was showing you, the investment world is in dire straits, and it's very difficult as advisors to show people, it's especially near retirement or retired clientele. It's very difficult to show them something with any sizzle that doesn't have a lot of risk associated with it. Risk off the table. My opinion of the entire financial world we're not going to get into today, but I am going to show you a problem and a solution to that problem today, because when you talk about the retirement landscape, so this is your 50-plussers, we've got a new situation in America as far as the health, and it really is the pink elephant. It really is one of the next financial bombs or disaster shoes to drop, or however you want to word it, because 70% of seniors are going to need some sort of long-term care, and 90% of them have no coverage. So when you look at the budget issues, Medicare A through D is a disaster, and sooner or later the government is going to have to address this. And so seniors, retirees, close to retirees, are going to have to figure out how to pay for a lot of this stuff. The health care, long-term care, people are going to have to figure out how to pay for some of this on their own because the long-term care costs are growing faster than inflation, and people are blowing out their entire lifetime savings because of these costs going higher and when they don't have any coverage. So when I do workshops around the country and ask people, statistically, I'll stand in front of 40 people and I'll say, hey, 36 of you don't have any coverage. Why is that? Universally, every single time, the number one answer I get as far as to the question of why they don't have any long-term care coverage is because it's so expensive. If you don't use it, you lose it. You're paying all these premiums, kind of like health insurance, life insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance. You're paying all these premiums, and they feel like if they don't use it, then the money's gone, and it's very expensive. And so I'll ask them, what's expensive? Well, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a year. A lot of times, some of the other questions I get, and I won't get too detailed, or some of the other responses I get to that question, I won't get too detailed, is how confusing the entire long-term care world is. A lot of fine print on those policies, and it's almost like you need a PhD in long-term care policies to really understand what's going on. And I'm not here to throw standalone long-term care insurance under the bus. I'm going to show you a different way here in a minute. Another response I get from seniors and soon to retire people is that the underwriting, the 50-plussers in general don't like going through underwriting. It's intimidating, and they think that to get long-term care insurance, first of all, it's very expensive, and on top of that, they think that insurance companies are just cherry-picking the very healthiest. That's their perception. Whether it's true or not, I'm not even going to discuss today. That's what they think. So what if there were something that, an alternative or a solution that addressed all of these issues, that whether you're talking about it with your clients or not, they're dealing with? We put this little caricature together to look at it from a different perspective, just to stir the pot up, because, hey, wake up, America. Older Americans, they're gonna be staring at reduction in Medicare, Medicaid benefits. And with all these healthcare costs going up, it's literally turning into the pink elephant sitting on their couch eating everything they've got. So I thought the caricature was pretty funny, so I thought I'd show you that today. But so what are we going to talk? That's really kind of a horror show. When you think about an aging America, costs going up, getting worse, and no coverage. So it's kind of a horror show. What are we going to do about it? Well, I want to show you from 10,000 feet an annuity today. And annuity is generally a pretty bad word. Also life insurance policy, because what the feds have done is they have adjusted tax laws to try to help people that have some assets take care of themselves. So what I want to show you today, and let's not get too caught up on the numbers, but I want to show you how we can use already tax-advantaged annuities and life insurance for some of the coverage that your retirees, sooner retirees, are going to need. Because the fact of the matter is, if 90% of people think they're self-insuring, right? I mean, that's just a statistic. 10% of retirees have some sort of long-term care insurance. Therefore, 90% of them are self-insuring. Well, we're going to show how tax law changes can help those people self-insure. This isn't getting separate coverage. This is really leveraging assets that your clients were going to spend on coverage anyway. Leveraging and tax advantaging the monies that your clients were going to spend on health coverage anyway. So, tax law changed in 2010. It's part of the Pension Protection Act of 2006, so it's basically the seniors can take withdrawals from specially designated annuities tax-free if they're triggered for long-term care. Here's the and I put it in a different color. The real power of this concept, new tax law change, is you can take older annuities, and by older annuities I mean an annuity that is at most has a 4 or 5% surrender charge. So that's the really important part here. As long as there aren't big surrender charges and there's some tax-deferred gains, you can 1035 into an annuity that makes tax-deferred tax-free. And that's a powerful concept, and let me promise you right now, a lot of your clients that have older annuities, the reason they're not taking money out is because they know when they take money out, they're going to have to pay a lot in taxes. So if you can show them, hey, we can turn tax deferred into tax free, it's a powerful concept. So this particular annuity, and there are a number of them out there, so keep that in mind. We can help you build cases that are specific to your client's situations. This particular annuity is coming out of an AM Best A+ rated carrier. It's a 130-year-old company. So it's a single premium deferred annuity, but it has a separate continuation of benefits, almost like an income rider for long-term care. So withdrawals are non-taxable if triggered for the long-term care related expenses. So like I say, it's almost like an income rider. So there are two pools of money, basically your client's money and then the insurance company's money that your client can use tax-free for long-term care situations. It can be a joint policy, and even if there's an older annuity with tax-deferred gains in one of a husband and wife couple's name, you can still 1035 in to that single person's name, like for like exchange, 1035, add the spouse as an eligible person, and you just leveraged up tax deferred and made it tax free for both of them. It's powerful. You're not going to run into that situation too often, but when you do, let us run some numbers for you, because it is a no-brainer. Highlight reel, I understand, but Rick and I had an agent in Indiana recently come to us with a husband and wife couple, 70 years old. The husband had an older annuity that he had paid $50,000 for, and it was huge tax-deferred gains. It was in his name, second marriage for both of them, so he was nervous about this concept. He didn't want a taxable event, but he liked the idea of long-term care coverage tax-free. $50,000 cost basis, lots of tax-deferred gains on top of that, 1035'd it in, leveraged it up, added his wife as an eligible person, and from a $50,000 cost basis, they had over $700,000 tax-free that they could use for long-term care. No-brainer, right? I mean, again, highlight reel, but I'm just trying to get it in. If you're attending this webinar, that's the kind of stuff that you want to show your clients. It is possible. Okay, so again, let's not get too caught up on the numbers, because everyone's situation is different, and we've got a lot of different products that we can show you. But just so it takes a little bit better shape in your mind, a single premium annuity, $100,000 a year later, is going to look like this. Your client's going to have $556,000 tax-free that they can use for long-term care. In this case, it translates to $4,200 a month. But again, putting these numbers on it just so it takes a little bit better shape in your mind. If you fast forward 10 years, there is some growth. But if you can imagine one of your clients, say a 65-year-old lady that has an older annuity coming due or close to coming due, $100,000. She doesn't have any coverage for long-term care, big tax-deferred gains, so she doesn't really want to spend the money. 1035 it into this, and you just took care of all of her long-term care issues. $616,000 is going to take care of almost every long-term care issue out there. So I show you $616,000. How does your client access that? In this particular case, it's 138 months of payments. It can be an indemnity, which means your client just gets the same amount of money every single month. They don't have to justify the expense of that entire amount. And if that's, hey guys, these are some of the moving parts of different annuities and life products that are available. Just understand that. Hey, bring us your client's situation, and we'll move and adjust some of these moving parts to take advantage. But just to explain the situation out there to you, some of these products are available as indemnities. So your client doesn't have to justify, in that last case I showed you, $4,200 of expenses every month. They don't have to justify that. They just get the check every month and do whatever they want with it. So the trigger, another moving part, but pretty typical in this type of asset-based care product. Trigger is going to be a licensed physician or a care provider signing off that your client needs help with 2 out of 6 activities of daily living, or they're cognitively impaired. Now, if that's confusing to you, feel free to give us a call. We'll go through it again. The important thing to understand is all that levered up tax-free money for long-term care, you need to understand, your client needs to understand, the client does not have to be in a nursing home to trigger this. Because, again, to rewind, when I'm standing in front of a group of seniors, one of the big reasons they don't have any long-term care coverage, because nobody wants to talk about it. It's a tough topic to talk about. Every senior you know has a friend that spent time in a nursing home. They don't want to think about it. And what happens after the nursing home, right? So it's a difficult subject to talk about. Seniors, retirees, they want to stay at home. This is built exactly for that, because when you look at the full nursing home costs around the country, that is getting ridiculous, completely, just skyrocketing. Some of the big metropolitan areas, you're talking about over $100,000 a year. It's insane. So they can stay in their home, they can get help in their home, and this is exactly how these products are designed. Waiting period, elimination periods. Again, moving parts. This particular product, no waiting period. So if you typically sell annuities and not life insurance, so you're not very familiar with underwriting, don't let it intimidate you. Don't let it intimidate your client. Again, one of the complaints I get about standalone long-term care insurance from the retirees and seniors I talk to is the underwriting. Well, this is simplified underwriting. So basically a few questions on the application about their health history and a phone interview, okay? So it is simplified. It's, and again, and Rick may have mentioned this beforehand, there's so many different products in this arena right now. There are some that require no underwriting. The numbers are going to work out differently, but even if your client, for this particular product, and what is pretty typical for a simplified underwriting situation on these annuities and life insurance, as long as your client in the last 5 years hasn't had serious heart issues or internal cancer, and whatever condition they have is controlled, they will probably be okay for this product. And the majority of these type of products. Now, even if they don't fit that description, we have strategies for them. So I'm going to go through the questionnaire later on that we'd like you to have filled out specific to each client, and we can help you build the case. So, hey, I know I'm going pretty fast, guys, but again, write our number down and give us a call with questions. But your seniors, your retirees can instantly increase their rainy day savings, in this case 550%. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer in this low interest rate world where any sort of growth has huge risk attached to it. Leverage up tax deferred and make it tax free. If you guys remember one thing from this webinar, remember tax deferred. I mean, it's a great catchphrase to talk to your clients about when you're doing annual reviews. Hey, we can turn tax deferred's great, but tax free is better. So that's write that one down. I mean, remember that from the webinar. But again, a lot of retirees, the number one most important thing that they want to maintain in their retirement is their independence. This is exactly how these products are designed, so they don't have to go to a nursing home. again, some more key phrases, because I'm throwing a lot of information at you. How do we turn that into a sale? How do we explain that to your clients and get to the point where you're actually helping them? Some of the catchphrases, some of the things to keep in mind. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, this is not like homeowners insurance. You're not paying premiums that if you don't use it, you lose it. The assets are still there for the estate if they don't use the long-term care benefits. You can 1035 from old annuities, and that's a powerful concept. If your clients have larger, older annuities, you can partially 1035 in. So don't consider that it's all or none on a $500,000 annuity. You can do partial 1035s. You can add an eligible person, another key concept. You're not going to run into it often, but it's a no-brainer when you do. And at the end of the day, these products are easier to qualify for than standalone long-term care. So, hey, if you're not showing these to your clients at annual reviews, or somebody else is going to, you can even use this concept to get eye catchers to attract some new clients. And we can help you with that stuff too. Rick, I'm gonna jump into the life product because I know we're running a little bit behind. Do we need to cover anything on the annuity before I continue?
Well, I think one thing I want to clarify there, because as I mentioned earlier, we're seeing a lot more annuities with some kind of an illness benefit or some kind of enhancement to an income stream for nursing home confinement or ADLs or whatever. What you're showing there is a HIPAA-compliant PPA annuity, which is a very specific product that offers massive tax advantages, and right. it requires underwriting. There's some other products on the market now that don't require any underwriting. They don't have quite the massive tax advantage or even quite the care advantage, but they can still be effective in certain cases. But that was a PPA compliant annuity you were showing.
Yeah.
There.
Absolutely, really important, because I'm sure everyone on this webinar has some clients that simply are not going to pass any underwriting. Well, still get the questionnaire filled out, let us know their situation, and we can build a case for you, because there are alternatives. And so I'm going to jump into a specific life product, but again, there are a lot of different ones out there. This one happens to be a single premium, so it's for a different source of money, really, and that's the important part to keep in mind. Real quick, sit down with your client, and we'll give you the questionnaire to ask them the right questions about their health situation, and then the right questions about their financial situation. If they do need care, where's the money coming from? Well, let's say that they have, obviously what I just showed you, if they have an older annuity with a bunch of tax-deferred gains, tax-deferred to tax-free, no-brainer. Okay, let's say you have the same 65-year-old female client. Let's say she has a CD coming due, and she's sick and tired of 0.6%, whatever the going rate is on a CD. It's a joke. So she's looking at some alternatives. We'll show her this, because for the after-tax money, this is a no-brainer. And real quick, just on the concept of life insurance, before you start talking to your clients about it, understand that typically, just to jump in and start talking about life insurance, they've got some preconceived notions, and sometimes when I talk about it, I've got clients that are rolling their eyes. They say, Grayson, I don't need any life insurance. My kids are long out of college. My house is paid for. What do I need life insurance? A big pile of money that's only good after I'm dead. What good is that to me? Okay, before you even get into the conversation with them, make sure they understand life insurance is changing, okay? Leveraging up money in life insurance, tax-free, that concept's not new. What is new is the access to that death benefit that the policy owner can have. So I'm going to show you one of our favorite products, and again, understand there are a lot of different products out there that we can adjust to different people's situation. But let's say you have a 65-year-old lady with a $100,000 CD coming due. She, instead of re-upping that, comes into this life product. Single premium. No continuing premiums with declining death benefit and cash value like a lot of the UL policies I see out there that have been sold in the last 20 years. She gets an instant 10% bonus. She has $110,000 in net premium day one, so that's about 10 years worth of CD gains there, or even more. And overnight, you almost doubled her money tax-free. $100,000 is the premium. Instant guaranteed, never to go lower. Worst case scenario, face value death benefit, $186,000. After tax, you almost doubled her money overnight. How long is it going to take in this horrible interest rate environment to after tax double her money? Oh, and on top of that, this product can be indexed, no risk. This is growth without risk. And if the future equals the past, look at the numbers after 15 years, $278,000. So, okay, again, you just doubled her money overnight tax-free, but it's on a life insurance chassis. So she says, well, what good does that do to me? Well, check out the next line there, $6,000 a month in a chronic illness benefit for 33 months. Policy has to be in force for a year, but she can basically trigger that money tax-free. She can trigger that money and accelerate that death benefit back to herself. Well, let's say she never needs any long-term care. Well, that whole face value worst case scenario plus some potential growth is available tax-free for her estate. So it's win-win-win for everybody involved. The chronic illness benefit, again, very liberal trigger. On this particular product, the most liberal trigger out there, doctor signs off she needs help, and she starts getting checks. She doesn't have to go to a nursing home. She could have her grandchildren come over and cook and clean for her and pay them. 33-month benefit on this particular product. Pretty typical, but another moving part. Indemnity, not a reimbursement. Again, she doesn't have to justify that $6,000. $250,000 on this policy is the maximum of the death benefit that the policyholder can take. So instantly increase your client's estate while decreasing its taxability. She has a CD coming due. This thing is a no-brainer. Her heirs are going to get a larger tax-free inheritance if she never has any health issues. So really the client gets to maintain their independence, but they don't lose control of their money. This particular product has a guaranteed return of premium. Anytime she wants it, she can have her $100,000 back. You know, I mean, even if it's 2 years later, it's not like she lost a lot of CD interest money if she goes down that road. So, I mean, it's literally a no-brainer. But I want to show you one other thing, and again, I know I'm going a little over time-wise, but the source of funds is really important on the best strategy with the products available in the marketplace. So let's say that same 65-year-old female client, but she has a $100,000 IRA rather than a CD or an older annuity. And keep in mind, you have a lot of clients. I guarantee you have a lot of clients or a lot of potential clients that the money that they have that they really don't need for month-to-month expenses is sitting in an IRA or a 401k or some pre-tax account. That's the reality of it. So we do have strategies for those type of accounts, and I'm going to show you that right here. So say a 65-year-old lady, a $100,000 IRA is what she has that she wants to get some long-term care coverage with. Okay, what we're going to do is transfer that IRA to a pre-tax, still a qualified immediate annuity that's going to pay out for 7 years on a guaranteed basis, almost $16,000 a year, and it's going to fund life insurance because you can't put that pre-tax money directly into life insurance. So 7 years, the annuity is going to pay out. Your client is going to get a 1099 every year for that $16,000, but is spreading her tax liability out, slowly moving out of the IRA into a 7 premium version of the same life product I just showed you. So it's on a whole life chassis. She has a guaranteed death benefit. She has access to that death benefit, though. That's the key. The death benefit and cash value are indexed for growth without risk. And again, you see the growth there, $263,000 if the future equals the past. Pretty important. So I just want to, the concept's important here. This is kind of an alternative to a Roth rollover. Your client has an IRA. She's going to pay taxes on it sooner or later. Well, you can systemize the paying of taxes on it, rolling into a pre-tax, it's kind of 2 sales in one, really, a pre-tax annuity that's going to fund a 7 premium life insurance policy. And you don't have to do anything. Your client doesn't have to do anything. The insurance company has this automated. So all you have to do is move the IRA into that annuity, and that will automatically fund the life policy. Again, this is an indemnity benefit, so your client doesn't have to go to a nursing home to use this money. It's whole life, so this is guaranteed growth potential without risk. And because it's 7 premiums, it's not a modified endowment contract. And this isn't a tax webinar, so I'm not going to go too far into that. But just understand that there are some tax advantages for the fact that there are 7 premiums rather than 1. So really sit with this concept. I told you earlier, tax deferred to tax free is one concept I really wanted you guys to walk away from the webinar with. Here's another one. Your clients that have pre-tax money, IRA money, they don't really look at all that money as their own, because it's not, right? So you have a client with a $100,000 IRA, really $60,000, $70,000 is really theirs, whatever the case may be. So when you talk about, well, let's move that to Roth, so it's on a tax-free chassis, well, that's fine. And sometimes that's a good strategy, but you're taking a pre-tax pool of money and you're making it a smaller pool of after-tax money once the taxes are paid, correct? Well, what we're talking about here is taking a pre-tax pool of money and making it a larger pool of after-tax money. Look at the numbers, $100,000 IRA moving to $176,000 after-tax life policy. Well, I mean, even if you take into account the taxes paid every year on the $16,000 that comes out of the annuity into the life, you are making a pool of pre-tax money a larger pool of after-tax money. Isn't that isn't that kind of a no-brainer, guys? Your client's not losing control of the money. It's on not a modified endowment contract, so they have access to the cash value. For whatever reason, they can go on a cruise with the money. The big thing is they have chronic illness access to the actual death benefit. So when you consider the concept of taking an IRA and slowly moving it into life insurance for wealth transfer, tax-free, that's great. That's not new. That's been around for years. What is new is taking IRA money, moving it into life insurance, and the actual policy owner, the insured, having access to the death benefit. So tax deferred to tax free, write that one down. Write this one down. Life insurance you don't have to die to use. And that is a catchphrase that will get your retired clients thinking differently about life insurance. So really, I mean, that's the basics of it. And again, what I'd like you to do right now is call us, because to bridge to put a bridge between all this information I just dumped on you and some actual sales potential, what we need to do is give you the questionnaire that you want to sit down with your clients or even potential clients and fill out. And so it's really simple, a one-pager on, hey, what are your clients' basic health conditions? And what are their basic financial conditions? And with those numbers, you fax that back to us, we will build a case for you and send it out so you can see specific to your client situation what's available out there. And I think it's going to surprise you in this terrible interest rate environment, and the benefits, the bells and whistles on annuities are horrible right now. We can show you some real bang for the buck, so to speak, for your clients' dollars in a terrible interest rate environment. Rick, that's kind of all I got. Did you want to go through some questions, or?
Well, I think you eventually managed to cover most of the questions that came in. So maybe we'll leave it at that. Anything we can answer on a one-on-one basis as far as state availability, and we had a number of questions on the qualified strategies available. And just to clarify, I had 3 or 4 of those come up in a row. Generally speaking, you got to end up with in a non-qualified account one way or another. There's several different products out there that have 2 different platforms together to get that done for you. But generally speaking, you're going to end up with non-qualified money. Does that follow, Grayson? Am I coming through okay here? I think my computer's complaining.
Yeah, well, you're coming in.
Can you hear me okay?
You got the point across. I mean, you're cutting in and out a little bit, but just to reiterate, in case some of you couldn't hear that out there, you start with a qualified pool of money, an IRA or whatnot. You're going to end up with a non-qualified pool of money. Somewhere in there are going to be some taxes paid. So this isn't tax evasion. It's just tax avoidance. You're going to spread tax liability out and end up with an after-tax pool of money.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. With that, why don't we thank everybody for attending? Anything we didn't cover, anything needs clarification, we'd be happy to do it on a one-on-one basis. So go ahead and give us a buzz. And thank you for your presentation today, Grayson.
Appreciate it.
And
thanks for your
thanks
time,
everybody
guys.
for attending. And we'll wrap it up with that.